K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we're expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org. The leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history.
On the side of a mountain overlooking the Nineveh plains of ancient Mesopotamia is the monastery of St. Matthew. It's one of the oldest on earth. The voices of its monks have echoed here since the 4th century, uttering prayers that have not changed.
You do the service in Aramaic, which was the language of Jesus.
Yes.
Are you among the last people on earth to speak this language?
We think so, because we kept this language through the language of prayer.
Prayers through centuries of persecution. Father Yusuf Ibrahim is one of only 7 monks left here. He told us the monastery was founded in 363 and has survived the Persian and Ottoman empires, Mongol invaders, and Kurdish conquests. Today it's threatened by the Islamic State, whose fighters advanced towards St. Matthew's gates shortly after taking Mosul last summer. Kurdish soldiers pushed them back to this village, where their flag still flies only 4 miles from the monastery.
What are you most afraid of?
Unknown future.
The unknown future.
Yes.
What do you think is going to happen?
We don't know exactly, but we're expecting the worst.
The road from St. Matthew's brings you to the front line, just 6 miles from the outskirts of Mosul. Every town and village between here and the occupied city is in the hands of the Islamic State. And now, we're told, for the first time in nearly 2,000 years, there are no Christians left inside Mosul.
They take everything from us, but they cannot to take the God from our hearts. They cannot.
Nicodemus Sharaf is the Archbishop of the Syriac Orthodox Church in Mosul, one of about 10,000 Christians who fled the city. We found him living as a refugee in the Kurdish capital Erbil. He said ISIS fighters were already inside Mosul when he escaped.
I don't have any time to take anything. He told me, you have just 5 minutes. I take it 5 books. They are very old.
Among them, this Aramaic manuscript. He told us it was written 500 years ago, and said he left behind hundreds more, older than this one, Christian relics that may never be recovered.
I think they burn all the books, and we have books from the 1st century of the Christianity.
You had books from the 1st century?
Of the Christianity. When I remember this, I cannot do it. From the beginning of the Christianity, this is the first time we cannot to pray in our churches.
As it seeks to erase Christianity from the landscape, the Islamic State allows no Christian symbols. It just released these photographs, which show the desecration of the church at what is believed to be the monastery of Mar Gorgas, just north of Mosul. And nothing is sacred. ISIS blew up this mosque shortly after taking control here. It's a site holy to both Christians and Muslims, because the Old Testament prophet Jonah was said to be buried inside. Just like the Nazis marked the property of Jews, Christian homes in Mosul have been marked with this red symbol. It's the Arabic letter N for Nasara, an early Islamic term for Christians. When ISIS puts it on your home, you either convert to Islam, pay an extortion tax, or face the sword. Issa al-Kareen is one of tens of thousands who had to make that choice. He was at home with his family in the Christian village where he'd lived all his life when ISIS fighters came looking for him. He told us the fighters first took all his money, then his wife and children.
So they were telling you, convert, convert, convert?
Yes, convert. In the beginning I refused. I told them I was Christian, and I had my religion, and they had their religion. But they told me, if you don't convert, we will kill you, and take your wife and children.
He agreed, and was taken to Mosul to convert, where he was reunited with his family. Soon ISIS fighters were asking about his young daughter, and he told us that frightened him more than anything.
They said to me that in Islam, the Sharia says girls that are 10 years old should get married. As soon as they left, my wife and I shut the door. We looked at each other, and she started to cry and pray. We were so scared they were going to take our daughter from us.
They escaped in the back of a taxi. Issa says they talked their way through 3 ISIS checkpoints and traveled for over 4 hours on back roads to Erbil, where, like Archbishop Sharaf, they now live as refugees. Some 30,000 Christians were living in Erbil before this crisis, most of them Chaldean Catholics, who follow their own ancient traditions but recognize the authority of the Pope. Bashar Warda is the Archbishop of this diocese. He says his congregation has swelled by more than 60,000 refugees, as Kurdistan, the semi-autonomous region in the north of Iraq, has become a safe haven for Christians fleeing the Islamic State.
This is one of the oldest Christian communities in the world. Thousands of years old.
2,000 years, almost.
And when you look at it today, where is that Christian community here?
Disappearing. It's dying.
Archbishop Warder said Christians in Iraq ironically felt safer under Saddam Hussein. Democracy brought a new wave of persecution and prompted a mass exodus of Christians. When the U.S. withdrew completely in 2011, Archbishop Warder said the situation became even worse because Iraq's new leaders were incapable of governing without help.
I think the American support was needed forcefully. You cannot leave the country like this and tell them, well, we've liberated you, we cannot do the job for you, and we are walking away, and this is your country, rule it.
So in your view, walking away in 2011 was just as damaging to Iraq as 2003
yes.
when the U.S. invaded?
Yes, it's not blaming, but that's the reality. This is not what you camped for in 2003. 4,000 sacrifices of the American soldiers was not meant to come to this day.
Christianity in Iraq was born in the towns and villages of the Nineveh Plains, like this one called Tel Asqaf, which lies less than 20 miles north of Mosul.
Christians have lived here and walked these streets for over 1,000 years. But today, there's no one. They're all gone, driven out by fear. And one of the most striking things you notice is the silence.
Every road was deserted, houses and possessions abandoned, others destroyed. Tel Asqaf had always been a refuge for Iraq's Christians, until last August when ISIS moved in, and 7,000 Christians fled. 3 weeks later, Kurdish soldiers pushed the terrorists out. But Father Ronnie Hanna said ISIS instills such fear here that his people won't come back. He worries too, but returns for a few hours every morning to check on his church, which he said ISIS fighters used as their base. He told us one of them called him on his cell phone to ask how to operate the church generator.
They really did. They asked you that. And you told them.
I guided them to where it was located around the corner from here, he told us, and explained how to turn it on. The last thing I said was to please take care of the church, and they just hung up. The cleansing of Iraq's Christians from this land is something Archbishop Sharaf believes ought to be generating a much louder cry of outrage from his Muslim friends and neighbors.
Speak up.
Mm-hmm.
Of course there is good people in the Islam people. There is not all Muslim people, they are bad. I believe. But where is the good people? Where is their voice? Nothing. Few.
With everything that has happened here to the Christians, what has been lost?
They lost our dignity here. I'm sorry to say that. We don't have dignity in our country, in our land.
Most everyone we met welcomed U.S.-led airstrikes here, but they also said it's not nearly enough. Taking back Mosul, a city of about 1.5 million people, is widely understood to be a difficult prospect. Archbishop Warder believes the Iraqi army can't do it alone, and as long as the city remains in the hands of ISIS, who he refers to as Daesh, its Arabic name, no Christians will be going home.
For me, Daesh is a cancer. It's a disease. So sometimes you take some hard measures, unfortunate measures, to deal and to treat this cancer.
So you want to see a major military offensive to retake Mosul?
Yeah, to get Iraq to its normal situation.
And by getting Iraq to its normal situation, you mean restoring the border between Iraq and Syria?
Yes.
Getting rid of Daesh, the Islamic State?
Exactly.
Defeating them militarily?
Please God.
The Christian community hastily set up militias to guard their deserted villages and homes along the front line. And they're getting a little help.
As I'm going this way,
We were surprised to come across American Brett Felton, a Christian veteran of the Iraq War who traveled on his own from Detroit to train Christian volunteers. And this man, Hamas, who said he came from Australia, driven to defend the land where he was born.
What do you think the Islamic State intends to do with the Christians here?
To wipe them out. To be nothing, no place left that bears the name of Christian or Christianity.
Christians in the frontier town of Al-Qosh live in the shadow of the Islamic State. Under constant threat, the militiamen keep watch as they celebrate their faith and carry out traditions that are as old as Christianity on the Nineveh Plains.
Why has this American Christian volunteered to battle ISIS on his own? Go to 60minutesovertime.com, sponsored by Lyrica.
Alright folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place.
Hey folks, Slickery Trigger here. I'd like to take a minute to tell you about Rebel Road Tactical. As a defensive pistol instructor, I've had the opportunity to observe many different holster designs and configurations. And one thing is clear. Many of my students won't carry a pistol. Or worse, they'll carry one without a holster at all. Holster designers aren't making holsters for normal people. It seems that most holsters are either an expensive piece of gear designed for Rambo or a piece that doesn't fit or function the way real people need it to fit and function. So, like any good Texan, I decided to learn to form kydex and design one myself, one that would fit the needs of average people. The result is the Rebel Road Tactical CRT Modular. The CRT stands for Carry, Range, and Training. Its thin and lightweight curved design minimizes printing and is adjustable to fit just right for superior comfort and function. Check us out after the show at rebelroadconcealed.blogspot.com.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor. Period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan. Period.
This is the most transparent administration in history.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect us to admit a mistake. We're paying off election debts to those who will take. Attorney General's lying even while
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
All right, folks, well, it's Tuesday, and no, that was not how we normally open the show here. I have to tell you, this has been a show that I've been struggling with now for a few days because I don't know about you, but the first time I saw the clip that I just pretty much aired in its entirety was on Sunday night. It's an older clip. Apparently, it's been around for a while. I was actually looking for one that was more recent and then realized I had found it, but it was several months old. But This is why I've been struggling with this one all week. I felt led at this point, and I don't use that word very often. For those of you who haven't heard my backstory before, or at least some of it, because I have throughout my life basically been what some would term a jack of all trades. I've done many different things. One of the things I did in my late teens, early 20s was I was actually a lay pastor. I was attending college, dead set on becoming a youth minister, taking the basic courses that I needed to get out of the way before I actually moved on to Oklahoma Baptist University. And then, of course, life got in the way. But during that time, and then even after that, I was helping in a very small church. And because it was so small, and because the pastor knew that I had felt like I had a calling, she had asked me to basically take on the youth ministry, even though I was not an ordained minister. So for several years, I actually worked as a pastor in a church, even without ordination, much to the chagrin of a lot of folks involved in my particular denomination. But that's a story for another day. The reason I bring this up is I don't bring this up because I don't want to be the guy that basically beats you over the head with Christianity and says, convert or else, because that's what we're facing everywhere else in the world, and that's not what my belief system is about. But I bring that up not to tout myself, but to point out that since that time, I have been more human than probably a lot of you. I have done things that would make your toes curl. I have done things that would be considered sinful. I have lied. I have cheated. I have done things that are not things that are someone of my belief system is supposed to do. And the reason I bring this up is because I want you to understand that I come to you about this today as a flawed human being. Not someone who's basically touting his religion and saying because of that I'm better than you. If anything, the fact that I keep being led to do these things and to bring these things up, at least as far as I'm concerned, I mean, some people will think I'm crazy because they're like, oh my God, he's listening to the Sky God or the Sky Daddy in his head. He's nuts. Okay, well maybe I am. But the simple fact of the matter is God normally elevates the least of us to a point of being able to bring a message because he wants everyone to see this is not about the messenger, but about the message. So anytime anybody starts trying to talk to me about what a great job I do on my show and everything else, I'm the first one to shout it down. Because it's not about me. It never has been. But this is going to be a hard one for me because you have to understand, I've read the Bible from cover to cover, and I have a really good memory. I have a memory bordering on photographic, so once I read something or I hear something, I normally do not forget it. Don't ask me where I put my keys or my wallet at any given time, but if I can read something, I typically retain about 98% of it. And there were parts of that clip that I played that literally made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Because they are outlined in Revelations. It specifically says there will come a time when Christians have to choose between their Lord and their life. And depending on how they choose is going to depend what happens to them in eternity. You saw an example of this tonight, or heard, an example of this tonight. Someone in a Christian town in Iraq who was faced with the choice to convert or to die. And in order to save his family, he chose to convert. We now have Christians in Iraq their homes are being marked much like Hitler did with the Jews. And people want to tell me that we're not in some kind of trouble. That we are not in the beginning. I mean, hopefully it's the very, 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 very beginning of them. But you can't watch or listen to a story like that if you've read the Bible and not look at it and go, oh my Lord, we really are entering that time. And what makes it worse is we have an administration that heavily seems to favor the side that wants to wipe us off the map. We are now being told that we're going to take in as many as a minimum of 10,000 migrants, most of which are Muslim. And we already have folks heavily inside of our intelligence agencies that are telling us that at least a small percentage of those numbers will be people that will infiltrate from ISIS. And yet we're still about to swing the doors wide open. Now, I don't talk to you about this tonight to say Muslim bad, Christian good. That's not what this is about. This is about trying to start a wake-up call. And those of you who've listened to the show, you have to understand, I'm not coming to you with this as some pious individual who says I do everything right and I'm holy and you're not, because you've heard me curse, you've heard me get angry, you've heard me say things I shouldn't say. That's not why I'm coming to you with this tonight. I don't come to you from a position of superiority. I don't even come to you at this point with a spirit of fear, because if you understand the ending of the book, then you understand that at some point things will go exactly as God intends. But I tell you today, if you can listen to what I played at the beginning of this show, and the hair on the back of your neck does not stand up when they get to the point where we have Christians halfway around the world that are being faced with the choice to convert or die, and you do not realize that with the decisions this administration is making, I'm not even saying President Obama at this point, the entire administration, the Secretary of State, Congress, all of them are going to be responsible when this comes to our soil, and it will come to our soil. All we can do at this point is try to delay it, because unless I'm wrong, and the things that come to pass in that book never actually truly come to pass, there's going to come a time when everything that we know will fall away. But I will be... Let me try to watch my mouth today. I would die before I did nothing to try to change it. Not because I'm afraid of it, but because I want there to be more time. If that's wrong of me, if that's boastful of me, then I accept that. But I want you to understand that there's no way that you can look at what's happening in the Middle East and not realize that at this point we are at least in the beginnings of that final chessboard being set up, and the pieces are now finally starting to be moved. This is a warning for anyone who's paying attention. And the biggest warning is to realize that our administration, the people that are supposed to protect us, that are supposed to put America first, are putting America last. And they have been now for several administrations. It's not even just this one. You know, I get shouted down about this every time that I say it, but if you cannot look at the Declaration of Independence and realize that there was a guiding set of principles that were put in place by our founding fathers that were based on biblical principles, freedom, creator, those things are not normal to human society, especially freedom. Look at what happens anywhere there is freedom. Everybody tries to do everything they can to extinguish it, to control it, to maintain power, because that is the nature of the flesh, is to do what we can to control everything that we can control, including anybody that's around us, especially those that are different than us. So to honestly look at everything that's going on today and say that you can't see that we have a problem here, and that at this point we have turned so far away from what our founding fathers intended that it makes me sick to my stomach. You don't realize how hard it was for me to do this show today. I have been sick all day. I have been saying, look, you know, we did, and this is an argument that I've been having with myself in my head all day. Look, I had a great show yesterday. I did an awesome interview. I had fun with it. Now you want me to turn around and you want me to throw a damper on all of it and tell everybody that if we don't wake up, we're all doomed. And the resounding answer that I've been fighting with all day long is yes, because at this point, whether I like it or not, I have a platform. And there's a reason I've been given this platform. No matter how small it is or how large it is, it will still be to get a message across. Those messages are sometimes going to be mine. Those messages will sometimes not be mine. This is one that I honestly have been struggling with all day. And I've honestly been struggling with it since Sunday, because once I realized exactly how bad it has gotten, I became terrified. Not for myself, not for my family, but for those that I know that don't know. There's not any other way I can say that, because the days are coming to a close, folks, whether we want them to or not. What we're seeing happening now in Iraq is a precursor to what is going to happen everywhere, because it has to. But let me tell you why it has to. And this is something that I brought up in several different articles that I've done lately. And it's about the fact that we have a completely out of control religious movement who has decided that they are going to bring about what is called the caliphate. For anyone who doesn't know, the caliphate is basically Armageddon. Where basically, in order for their particular Messiah to return, they have to bathe the world in blood. It really is that simple. They have to decimate the world's population, and they have to do so in such ferocity that at this point they basically there's nowhere on the continents and in the world where there's not tens of thousands of people that are dying all at once. And the reason why is because in order for them to be able to have their heaven, they have to kill everybody. Now, if that doesn't freak you out a little bit, then you're not paying attention. Because look at what it is that they're trying to do. They've already started. You just listened to an entire clip of folks that have been run out of their homes. Their churches have been desecrated. There's even a mosque. These people are supposed to be Muslims. There's even a mosque that they completely destroyed because it was an area that was cherished by both Muslims and Christians alike, and they blew it up. Why do you think they did that? Because here's the thing. This is the point nobody wants to talk about. If there is such a thing as a moderate Muslim, to those people, if you are a moderate Muslim, whatever that may mean to you, you are not a Muslim. Alright, so at this point we need to take a really quick break. We have reached the bottom of the hour, so I need to go ahead and take a break for a second, and I will be right back as soon as I can actually get it to load.
Red Nation Rising brings you Town Hall Radio.
From a single tweet to 3 million a month, our community is a force to be reckoned with on social media.
So don't miss our show, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on K98 Talk.
Our chat room is our co-host, and you ask the question.
Join us and be heard.
So get ready to sound off on Red Nation Rising Radio. No one else is going to do it for you.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
K98Talk.com, a leader in Internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98Talk.com.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members, of their families or their children, asking them to deploy, patrol, stay on watch, on point, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to bring them all the way home, to keep them secure, to have their backs for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs do whatever it takes to help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Find out how you can help at findwwp.org.
This is JD.
And this is Stacy.
Join us Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, for Game On. Remember,
lock up the children and the old folks.
Game On, the home of conservative conservatarian.
Where no one is safe, no one is spared, not even the hosts.
Oh, that was supposed to be a spin cycle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. We love you anyway. Right round, baby.
Self-monitoring
right
Ebola radio strikes again.
Anyway.
Anybody see the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? For God's sake, I need an antidote. Just do your rant. Let's pop out of the segment. Find us on Twitter at JD and Stacy.
You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Calls, we got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom, bless you, pray to Jesus Christ.
All right, folks, we're back. We're live. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson, and, well, according to Slickery Trigger, who's hanging out in the chat room, I am speaking some real truth tonight. Thank you for the tweets, brother, and thanks for hanging out with me. I do want to say at this point, folks, the show, honestly, this is going to be one of the shows where 2 hours wasn't going to be enough. So we may actually revisit some of this on Friday. Tomorrow and Thursday, I'll probably be doing pre-debate in the middle of debate and post-debate wrap-up, because Patrick Fornari is going to be on with me again on Thursday. He usually likes to come hang out during and after the debate so we can talk Trump, who's his current favorite. Ugh. Sorry, Patrick. Love you, man, but dang. But for the rest of this show and probably Friday's show, we may pick up a little more on this. But I mean, I'm sorry, folks. I can not say something about this, because this is as crazy as our world has gotten. I want you to think about this for a second. Let this sink in, and then you'll understand. And I know I'm not the first one that started saying it, but I have kept it going a lot longer than some. I kept warning you as these shows kept picking up steam and we kept doing more of them and I was on more often. There was going to come a time when America was going to get to the point where she was so dark, at some point she was going to make the Nazis look like Girl Scouts. I'm telling you, we're already there. If you don't believe me, take a look at Planned Parenthood. The entire world is still up in arms over the death of, 6 million Jews? And I'm not saying they're wrong. I mean, that is atrocious. It was terrible. It never should have happened. It was despicable. But look what we, as a society, are doing to our own people. Our unborn children are being aborted. I mean, and we touched about this a little bit on yesterday's show at the very end, because Darla mentioned that there are conservatives who say that they still consider themselves pro-choice. And I will be the first one to tell you, I will not impose my view on you. I won't, but I also cannot say that abortion is okay to me. I can't tell you that it shouldn't be okay with you if that's what you decide you want to do, but it's not okay with me. And there's a reason it's not okay with me, because I've been telling you for forever, even before all of this come out, that there was more to Planned Parenthood than we knew. We would point out the words of its founder and the fact that it was basically started as one of the biggest racist projects ever to exterminate an entire race of people. And now they have brought it about to the point where they're exterminating an entire generation of people. And that wasn't even enough. They have now found a way to make money off of the extermination because they're parting them out like it's a frickin' chop shop. And we're okay with it. I'm saying we in general. I know there are quite a few of us that are not okay with it. But overall, nobody bats an eye. If anything, those videos come to light. Oh my God, that has to be faked. There's no way Planned Parenthood would do that because they are such a great. They're such a great organization. They do so many things to help people. Really, if you ever actually called a Planned Parenthood number and said, "Hey, we're thinking about starting a family. We want to know how your Planned Parenthood." You know what they're going to tell you? I'm sorry, we don't do that. You know why? Because I've made the phone call. Actually, now that I have the ability to dial out from my computer and I can record conversations, guess what? I live in Oklahoma. Oklahoma's a one-party consent state. Within the next few weeks, I will probably make a few phone calls to a few Planned Parenthood places and say, "Hey, my wife and I are thinking about starting a family. We want to know if you can help us with that." And then if I get whatever responses I get, even if it's, "Hey, you can go here, are you crazy, we don't do that," I'll probably let you hear them. Because this is what I'm trying to make you understand. We have this entire group of people that talk about the mammograms and everything else that Planned Parenthood's supposed to do. They don't do that. You know what they do? They hand out free condoms and they do abortions. That's pretty much what Planned Parenthood does. And then they take your tax dollars to hand out free condoms and to do abortions. But then your tax dollars aren't enough. They make money from the abortions because they take donations to give people body parts and organs. I mean, come on. I told you, when we go dark, it's going to be terrible, and we're already there. I've been telling you that since day one of my show, all the way back on Blog Talk Radio, almost 4 years ago. I told you, point blank, when we go dark, we will make Nazi Germany look like a pack of Girl Scouts. And you want to know another thing that makes us look like Nazi Germany's a pack of Girl Scouts? The fact that we are turning our back on an entire group of people. The Christians that are being persecuted. We're being told that we have to let the Muslim migrants come over. We have to. It's a humanitarian thing to do. We have to do it. There's something they're not telling you, though. And that is what they're doing to Christian migrants or refugees that are fleeing religious oppression. Let's listen to this.
Thanks, Pat. The Iraqi Christians were fleeing religious persecution from radical Islam. And instead of being welcomed to America as religious refugees, they were arrested and sent to prison in San Diego. Gary Lane brings us their story.
Last year, 300,000 immigrants from Muslim countries were welcomed into the United States. Most came seeking a better life. But what about Christians escaping ISIS?
Our border's open to everyone except Christians.
Mark Arabo is spokesman for the Minority Humanity Foundation. He recently prayed with fellow Iraqi Christians outside San Diego's Otay detention facility. They gathered in protest and support for some of those detained inside. For nearly 6 months now, the U.S. Immigration Service has imprisoned 20 Chaldean Catholics for attempting to enter the United States from Mexico without prior approval. Rarely does the government comment about pending detainee cases. However, Arabo says the INS did tell the families that it lacked sufficient resources to go through individual case files to provide them with an explanation. Arabo suggests the families deserve better.
And so we're going to protest, we're going to pray for the administration and the officials to open up their hearts and minds to the victims of genocide, we're not going to stop, and we're going to hold them accountable.
Iraqi Christian Amr Moshe served as an interpreter for the United States Army during the Iraq War. Militant Muslims threatened his life because he worked for the Americans. Now he's living in San Diego and prays that his 26-year-old cousin Ziad Mati will soon be able to join him. Ziad was taken into INS custody last January. His case is finally scheduled to be heard later this week. Amr wonders why his cousin is still detained. He's not an Islamic terrorist, explained Amr, but a kind Christian who would not hurt anyone.
Ziad will not be harmful to this country, will not be danger to this country. Let him go live with his family. It's not too much. He's young, he can work, he can pay taxes, he can be happy around his family. And his family could sponsor him.
And just moments before this prayer vigil, word came that the mother of one of the detainees inside had died of cancer. The detainee had requested release for a day or two to go see her mother in the hospital before she died. That request was denied. These Chaldean Christians say that's just another example of a broken immigration system. And Amr says many of them now believe America's early troop withdrawal from Iraq is to blame for the rise of ISIS. The militant Islamic group forces Christians to convert to Islam, leave, or die.
They did not finish the mission. And we can't get papers to stay in America. Where we should go now?
When did the symbol of America become a gated fence as opposed to the Statue of Liberty? Give me your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free. These are those Christians.
Gary Lane, CBN News, San Diego.
All right, so, I know that we're all, close the border, Americans first, and, to a point I agree with that, but if and this is coming from the perspective of the other side for a second, if we're going to throw the border so wide open that, we're already trying to get the bleeding hearts to let us take in another 10,000 refugees when they don't point out the fact that we've already taken in 300,000 Muslim refugees in the last year. And this article that I just aired for you was Dateline from August 3rd, 2015. So that lets you know that in 2014, even though I don't think we were ever really made aware of it, apparently we had 300,000 Muslim refugees come across the border. I'm assuming that probably is sometime around the same time that all of the men and children and everybody else were coming into the country in droves. I'm sure that probably had something to do with it. But if we're already going to throw the border wide open, what's the harm in letting a few more Christians in? We're jailing these Christians now, but we let Muslims come across the border? I'm confused. Everybody tells me that I overreact when I point out that I don't honestly think Obama is a Christian. I'm going to tell you again, I do not think Obama is a Christian. This is another glaring example of why I do not think he's a Christian. His administration is jailing Christians that are seeking refuge from religious extremism and religious persecution. They are now in a country that tells them that if you are a Christian, you must convert, you must pay penalties, or you must leave, or we will kill you. And yet we're jailing them. But we're letting the people that are the ones that are terrorizing the Christians come over in droves. I mean, you tell me, how are we supposed to know a moderate Muslim from an extremist Muslim except by their works? And we don't know the crazy ones until they start yelling Allahu Akbar and we hear an explosion. Might there be a couple of terrorists that come over parading as Christians? Yes, but how many terrorists did we already let into the country last year? I'm sorry, but if we're going to hold the border open, I would much rather hold it open for people that claim to know Christ, because at least I understand their mindset if they're being honest with me. And if they're not, then we can deal with them as they rear their heads. But if we keep letting them come over in these large groups without any type of control, when we know that we're letting hundreds of thousands of Muslims stream across the border every single year and nobody's got any type of a check in place, you know what? I'm going to take Donald Trump one step further. I don't give a damn about the Mexicans anymore. We have bigger problems than whether Mexicans are coming into this country. What we need to be focusing on is how many people that are pretending to be Mexicans are people that want to kill us. And how many people that are pretending to be moderate Muslims are here secretly wanting to kill us. I bring you to the point of the Boston bombers. They were refugees, Muslim refugees, supposedly fleeing religious persecution from the more radical sects of Muslim. They were given visas. They were allowed to stay. They overstayed their visas. And the next thing we know, a few years later, they're making homemade bombs and trying to kill people in the middle of the Boston Marathon. I ask you again, what are we supposed to do? No, I don't think it's feasible to completely shut down the border, but I tell you today that there is technology that's in place now that we can keep better track of the people that are coming across the border. And I already know, because I've had this conversation with other folks, well, how are you going to know who's the terrorist and not the terrorist when they don't have programs like we have here for background checks and everything else? Okay, that's all well and good, and that's all fine. But what about all the terrorists that are coming over that we know, that are in our system, but we're not catching them because we're not using things like facial recognition at the border, and we're not using the things that we can use to be able to track people. So if we're honestly going to do things to allow people to come into this country illegally, then we need to fix the entire system. This isn't just about immigration anymore. This is about survival. There are ways that we can fix this. There are ways that we can streamline the process to make sure the people that actually want to be here for the right reasons are allowed to come here, and they're allowed to do so legally, but we don't have to keep opening our borders to the people that want to kill us for no reason other than just because to let them in just because, hey, we're letting everybody else in. Who cares? You know, they may want to kill us, but they'll change their mind tomorrow because we're going to give them a new car, and we're going to give them a house, and we're going to give them a TV, and then we'll Americanize them, and then they won't want to kill us anymore. No, I'm sorry, that's not true. They may take everything you're handing them, but everything you're handing them, they're going to find a way to make sure that they can make the money that they need to be able to build the bombs that they need to be able to kill us. Because that is what they want to do. Because, again, going back to the beginning of the show, where we listened to the very long clip outlining the persecution of Christians and the fact that they're being beheaded in their own countries, in the Middle East, they do this for one specific reason. The more of us they kill, the sooner they can bring about their caliphate, which brings about their Messiah. So, as I mentioned earlier, we will probably talk about this some more on Friday. I do want to do a couple of things here real quick that I have not had a chance to do. But first, I am going to go ahead and take a really quick break, and then I'm going to come back and give the usual shout-outs and stuff that I give at the beginning of the show. I'll be right back here in just a second.
For our own cause, we got a pen and telephone to buy.
Alright folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
The wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome.
Hey folks, Slickery Trigger here. I'd like to take a minute to tell you about Rebel Road Tactical. As a defensive pistol instructor, I've had the opportunity to observe many different holster designs and configurations. And one thing is clear. Many of my students won't carry a pistol. Or worse, they'll carry one without a holster at all. Holster designers aren't making holsters for normal people. It seems that most holsters are either an expensive piece of gear designed for Rambo or a piece that doesn't fit or function the way real people need it to fit and function. So, like any good Texan, I decided to learn to form kydex and design one myself, one that would fit the needs of average people. The result is the Rebel Road Tactical CRT Modular. The CRT stands for Carry, Range, and Training. Its thin and lightweight curved design minimizes printing and is adjustable to fit just right for superior comfort and function. Check us out after the show at rebelroadconcealed.blogspot.com.
All right, folks, sorry about that impromptu break. I don't usually take 3 breaks a show, but it was just one of those things that could not be avoided. All right, so since we opened things a little bit differently tonight, I do want to end the show by giving the shout-out to our affiliates. Of course, that would start with RedStateTalkRadio.com, where this show can be heard every Sunday at 5 Central in the morning. So get up, grab some coffee, listen to me over there, and then head right back over here to K98 Talk and check out Richard Harden on his Sunday show. And then, of course, this show can be heard every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 Central on AMFM247.com, which is available in 7 terrestrial markets and available through online. This show can also be heard every day on SHR Media, as well as Leading Edge Radio Network. And coming soon, official call letters. I'll make that announcement as soon as it actually does become official. But sometime next month, we will actually hopefully be joining a station that is FCC regulated and licensed, which is another reason why I've been trying to do my level best to stop cussing quite so much, because I'm about to actually have to pay attention to what I say. Now, that is going to do it for this particular episode of America Off the Rails. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out in the chat with me tonight. I saw you there, Slick. And Tina, I saw you sneak in there towards the end. Sorry I hadn't had a chance to say too much to you, but I've been fighting with the gremlins. At some point, I'm going to actually get a sound effect put together for the host monkey, because it's not much fun to say gremlins, but it is fun to give JD crap about letting his host monkey out of the cage and tearing stuff up. Which is usually what I start complaining about when things go sideways. But at this point, folks, I have got to get out of here. I have to make room for the Graceland radio show. Jennifer Meadows is also another one of those ones on that terrestrial station that I hope to be on soon. She'll be with us here in just a couple minutes. And then, of course, later tonight we will have the Right Angle. And then, of course, we have JD and Stacy batting cleanup crew tonight. I do believe JD is off because I think he's out cavorting in Hollywood. But I think Stacy, if I read correctly, has O'Donovan with her tonight. He's been on now with them a few times, both rotating through Stacy and JD. Of course, Stacy's there tonight, so there will be no midgets mentioned, I'm sure. But that wasn't the case when he was on with JD. All right, I have got to get out of here, folks. I'll be back with you live tomorrow night. I'll be coming to you in the middle of the debate sessions, maybe with some thoughts on the first round. And then we will talk Thursday with Patrick and review the debates and a couple other articles that he's written lately. I'm out, folks. Have a good night.
Let me tell you how it's gonna work, kids. You're working hard like your parents both did. Everything you earn by breaking your backs, we're gonna redistribute when we make our pay tax. Hey, sit back down.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Giggity, 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 let's have sex.